Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Taj. I'm a postgraduate student at the University of Southampton and I'm on the ISOC. This is a new initiative presented by Brother Tawsif, which is to make a podcast discussing topics pertaining to issues and problems that Muslim students at university may face. Now, it's very important to note that we aren't students of knowledge, we're not scholars, we're not people of knowledge, we're not going to be passing fatwa or discussing controversial topics here. We just simply want to discuss issues that students who are Muslim at university may face and give advice based on our own experiences. With that being said, by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this will be of some benefit to you inshallah. Please do enjoy and jazakumullah khairan wa barakallahu feekum.
Alright, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Taj, and today on the ISOC podcast we're discussing some issues pertaining to Muslim medics and studying medicine at the University of Southampton and in general. So on the show today we have three brothers. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Shazib. I'm a second year medical student and I'm from Manchester.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Badr. I'm first year, second year, a medical student, and I actually live here, so I'm from Southampton.
Cool.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mohsin. I'm going to be going into first year of BM6, and I'm from Bradford.
So you guys are like, how many of you did BM6 and how many of you started straight away from BM5?
So I did BM6.
I did BM6 as well.
Okay, so what's the difference between BM6 and BM5 and like this whole foundation year thing, and like how does that work? Because obviously I'm not a medic, so I don't really know too much about it.
So BM6 in Southampton is the medicine course with an additional foundation year. So you start off with year 0 and then after that you progress into year 1 and join the rest. So like brother, he's a BM5, he started straight from year 1. So that's the difference between the two.
So is a BM6 course quite common, or is it something that's not really like that all universities offer?
No, not common at all actually. It's one of the fewer unis that actually do that. It's basically to do with widening participation, which is the non-academic criteria that you have to fulfill in order to qualify for it. So you just got to be from disadvantaged backgrounds.
Okay, so for you guys, right? Obviously you're all medics. So how do you feel like your course compares to other courses? Like, what different experiences do medical students have compared to someone like me who studied chemistry or is doing a PhD, for example? Like, how do you guys differ in terms of like your course length, or the kind of facilities that you have, or the way your lectures and stuff is placed out and where they take place?
Well, going back to what Shaz was saying about the BM6 and BM5. So with the BM6, it's 6 years long. So that's the length of it. So compared to other degree courses, most of them are 3 years long. For me, it's 5 years, but still have an extra 2 years on top. In terms of, I'd say, you guys as well, like you guys must have noticed that I'm only in my first year, just finished my first year. But in terms of contact hours, they're much, much more intense with medicine. You've got around, I think, 30 contact hours a week. Always in lectures, doing tutorials and all of that. Doing placement, anatomy things as well. So it's been pretty in that sense. I mean, I'm sure you guys, you have friends in other courses. Like they ask you, do you want to come out? Do you want to come out? Do you want to come out? You're like, I can't. I'm still in uni. But yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, even in year 0, we're pretty much there Monday. Well, we tend to have either Mondays off or Wednesdays off, depending on which day we go in placements. But even then, it is quite intense. Like one lecture for us is 3 to 4 hours. And we have minimum at least 2 lectures a day. So that's a bit different to the BM5 course, but even then that is quite intense. And then in terms of like other courses, they get to have something called study weeks. There's no such thing in medicine.
No, we don't get that either. We don't get reading weeks or any of that.
Some
courses might do, but I didn't get any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in my experience, the main sort of difference is the fact that we're rarely on campus, except year 0. Year 0 we're mostly based in campus, but apart from that, with the other year 1 and year 2, where 3 out of the 5 days we're in hospital and only the 2 days we spend on campus. So that's a big difference, I think. So whereas all the social activities and even like societies, they're they're based in and around campus, except the medical ones, and especially ISOC. The prayer room is on campus.
Yeah.
So on most days, in between lectures, just nipping down to the prayer room and meeting your ISOC mates there isn't really much of a possibility. And whenever you are on campus, you get to experience that, but it's very rare, like I said. And that's only in the first non-clinical years, and then in the clinical years, which would be the last year 3, 4, and 5, that's literally nowhere near
So you're
even
basically
Southampton
like
sometimes.
you're either in the hospital in Southampton, or you're on placement like in other places. It could be anywhere like in the south region of England.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you guys got like, so let's say you're based in like Portsmouth or some other place in the south of England. Do you guys have to then live out and then commute to the hospital that you're working at, or how does that work?
And you have the option of living out, and a lot of the times, if it's far enough, they will give you accommodation
So that's paid for.
closer to your. That'll be free.
Yeah.
But that would be only for the period you're going to be there for, and you're not at a rotation for more than I believe 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
And then you have to move out again to the next one. And if it's one rotation could be in another city and you get accommodation there, but if it's close enough or in Southampton, then you need to arrange your own accommodation. So
really?
most people end up having 2 places to live at a time.
So you have to pay double rent basically.
Not really, because the one that they give you is free.
Oh, okay. So you arrange it, but they pay for it.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And that when does that start? So obviously you mentioned you got a year 0 if you're doing the foundation year, year 1, 2, and 3. At what point in your degree do you start doing all these placements and like moving out and having to move around basically?
So placements, the 5 days of 4 to 5 days a week placements, they start from year 3 onwards.
Okay.
So I'll be going into year 3 next year. The first half of my year would be a project, and then the second half it would be like I'm not a university student anymore. I'm more of a trainee.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously on that basis, right, how do you think that affects your social life? Because obviously you're in and out of all these places. Like you mentioned, you've got much more busier timetables as well. Do you guys still find the time to like socialize and have time to do activities outside of that, like sports or anything else you want to do? Like, how has studying medicine affected that side of things for you guys?
I mean, I think you still get to socialize and everything. You meet up with the people, but it is sort of like a closed group. So you're more likely to meet up with other medics than any other sort of students. So it's important that whilst you're with the other medics, you still, stay in touch with your dean and everything.
Yeah.
So organizing any sort of ISOC events or coming to ISOC events can sometimes be a bit of a hassle.
Definitely, I agree with that. I think literally you're around medics all the time. It's a bit secluded in the sense that your timetables are all the same. In terms of even, as Shaz was saying, when you go to the prayer room on campus, Jum'ah, we can't go to Jum'ah. It has to be in the hospital. In the general hospital we go to. But in terms of social life, in my opinion, it's either late nights or you just can't do it. For me personally, it's either like,
because you live at home as well, don't you? So it's like an added thing.
Yeah. So for me, I think I have a bit of a unique experience because I'm working and I'm a medical student and I live at home as well. So I'm juggling quite a lot of things. I know a lot of people think it's so easy living at home and going to uni at the same time, but I'm sure you guys are like, oh my god, it's so easy. But to be honest, it's not. It comes with its own separate challenges. In terms of like focus and stuff like that, it's difficult. But I'm sure we can get into that later on.
No, I think that was a good time, man. If you want to just outline a few things, like the differences between living out and living at home, because actually I don't think we haven't. I don't know many people that commute to uni, because obviously Southampton is different. Like in London, you'd meet a lot of people that commute, because obviously London is huge, isn't it? But for other universities like Southampton or ones that are on the in different places, you're more likely to encounter people that you're less likely to encounter people that are commuting from home. So what do you think? What's the difference between you and us, basically? Because I'm obviously someone who's from London. I lived out, but you've lived at home since you started. So how do you think that's different? What benefits and drawbacks is there to that?
I think the clear benefits are, in terms of like cooking and
free food and accommodation.
Yeah, those are the you guys think I'm probably lazy, but not doing cooking. But yeah, it is easier in terms of the finance. You spend less money, but I think the big drawback is actually being able to, number one, spend time with your family.
Yeah.
Number two, do the things that you need to with your family, and then that clashes with your studies as well. So there's always that balance you've got to have. And to be honest, I haven't found that balance yet. How much I need to be working on my paid job, how much I need to be working on my uni things, how much I need to be working at home, chilling with my family. It's difficult, especially at the start of the year. So at the start of the year is a time, especially like freshers, for example, everyone's getting to know each other. There's loads of ISOC events going on. I'm sure you guys remember the Freshers Week last year was pretty good. Had the paintballing, you had the trampolining, you had the sprinkles and scoops and all of that. Okay. So I couldn't attend most of those. It makes you feel kind of left out sometimes, but alhamdulillah, man, you count your blessings every day. So
Yeah.
it comes with benefits and drawbacks, 100%, as does everything. In terms of, do I regret the decision to study here rather than out? No, I feel like no. My work is here, my life is here, and alhamdulillah, it's been good so far.
So I think you mentioned basically how, because you guys' course is different, like when you come to events, or when you can't come to events, it's because of the way your course is, but also the way you socialize. Typically, you're just around medical at the time because you've all got the same timetable, right?
Yeah.
So I think what we saw in the previous years is what happens is our medics typically they get involved at the beginning before their course starts, like in freshers, but then as their course progresses, typically you get groups forming among medics, and a lot of the time like they not, it's not like cliquey in a bad way, but just because of the way things are in the terms that your course is structured, in the way that your course is structured, naturally your friendship groups are very much just a group of medics, right? And you mentioned that it's difficult to get involved in like the ISOC or any other society. So essentially this year, the Shahzeb's idea was to form like a Muslim medic society to kind of combat this issue almost. And I think, do you want to explain like what the premise of it is and why there's a need for it?
Yeah, so since the start of last year, we've been discussing this idea, and me, Mohsin, and a few other brothers like Surkhab, etc. We've discussed the need of this society. So, and this society's idea is surrounding just meeting the needs of Muslim medics specifically. Whereas you've got ISOC, which is accommodating pretty much all Muslim students within the uni, and without a doubt, it's central to the uni life of a lot of Muslim students in uni. I still think that with medics, there's because of these differences in timings and the fact that it's just twice as hard to be able to bump into the same people that you might feel are like yourself, that are not medics, so like yourself, Taj. So what we decided was that this society would focus on mainly needs of Muslim medics, so we could accommodate them in as many ways as possible. Part of that is that social aspect, that yes, you have this high attendance at the start of the year within ISOC, and then what happens is as time progresses, because of the chances of you being able to like bump into the people that you first met within ISOC, it decreases. You make your own little cliques, you can call it, groups that are surrounding medics. So, and then also the academic pressure also kicks in. So to gain that academic support surrounding your own groups, I think most people just end up focusing on that aspect more than anything.
Yeah.
And that has, it has benefits, but like with anything, like brother was saying earlier, living at home, living away, everything has its drawbacks. So if you do end up in groups that are not, let's say, from backgrounds and like you are, basically yourself coming from a Muslim background, you end up losing yourself from what you were before you came into uni. And that's something that I think even the med school would say, that a person should come into medicine bringing their personality in and carrying it right the way through, and not feel the need or be influenced to change themselves. So just to accommodate this aspect, I think having this little society which could focus on those needs of Muslim medics specifically. It's not there to sort of accommodate mainly the Islamic aspect, because obviously that's the ISOC's job, the tarbiyah and all the Quran classes and all the
Talks and
lectures.
dawah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's solely ISOC's. But specific things to medics, that would be sort of something that we would focus on, because obviously we can't have ISOC focus just on medics, because like I know that would just cause problems, innit?
Yeah, it would just be too difficult,
Even having medics only socials purely because their timing is a bit different and they can't make all of the socials, it can cause problems. So it's just basically surrounding those needs of Muslim medics specifically.
I think we talked about the like you mentioned that the ISOC's job is to, number one, is do tarbiyah and do the dawah and stuff, right? And you mentioned that obviously, I think that's part of it, is that because sometimes they get detached from ISOC, right? They get detached from that side of things as well. So it's difficult for them to take part in tarbiyah, or they don't even know that there's an ISOC, or there's this kind of like establishment there for tarbiyah, Quran classes, dawah, talks, lectures, education. So I think part of the reason of having this, it's so important to have something like this, is because if we let it continue the way it was, that could have been fine. It would have been easier, in fact, just to let it continue, let the groups form, because on the outset, it's not exactly obvious as to why it's needed. Because you could argue, oh, the ISOC's saying this because we want more people to come to our events rather than you form your own groups. We want you to come to our events, right? But the reality of it is that was happening, right? These groups were forming, and it's not us kind of putting a hammer down and saying, nah, you can't have your own groups, you have to come to ISOC. It's more saying, we understand now that you guys have your own needs, and obviously it's better for you guys to facilitate those needs among yourselves, but also through that we can work together. And the most important thing of this all is that the medics who own those groups have access to the ISOC's classes and tarbiyah, because that's the most important thing, is having that dawah side of it, because that wasn't there before. And it's bridging the gap between these two basically big groups and saying, look, make use of the ISOC for this specific thing. It's not about socials or coming to our charity events or anything like that. It's about making use of the dawah and the prayer room that we can provide, which you guys can't.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the idea of that's what would make us Muslim medics, and not
exactly,
just accommodating
MedSoc,
a widening, or like, let's say, ethnic minority group society. So that Muslim aspect would come through that, and that would be just with good relations and also good communications with the ISOC, and working together in that front. And obviously, there's certain things within our own learning that are more medical related, and then we can take charge of that, and as Muslims and medics, we can take that responsibility and inform everyone on medical issues that have Islamic aspects to it.
So like a talk on, like, I don't know, for example, like the permissibility of organ donation or something on the lines of that.
Exactly, organ donations. Like how often do we hear a talk about how to prepare a dead body for the janaza? Yeah, exactly. And that's something that we as medics, it's important for us to know.
But as a general Muslim population as well, it's very important. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's and having these sort of discussions on a regular basis, having people from ISOC, and just is basically another reason for everyone to just basically come together and stay connected, and not just to feel that they're that group, we don't associate with that group, because eventually it does become that unconsciously, subconsciously.
Of course,
Still.
Muslim and Badr, did you guys anticipate this kind of thing to happen? Like before you guys joined, because you guys are both first years, right? You've only just finished 1 year. Did you kind of feel that as a medic you would be separated from everyone else? Did you guys, before you joined uni, right? You guys, I don't know if you knew about ISOC or how things work, but if you knew about ISOC, did you anticipate yourself kind of detaching from that because of studying medicine?
Personally, I knew medicine was tough, and I knew that you're always around medics, because I have friends in the older years anyway. I spoke to Shaz a lot, for example, when before I actually applied to med school. He helped me out. But with the in terms of with ISOC and stuff, I never thought that. I thought that ISOC would be outside of the curriculum teaching and stuff like that. I thought I'd always have time for ISOC. I was really excited to join the ISOC anyway.
Yeah.
But in terms of has it secluded me? I don't think so. I've had to miss things because of medicine. I think everything that's been available has been somewhat accessible. But I never anticipated being, secluded, not even from other courses, for example. But yeah, not really.
So for me personally, I heard of the ISOC through the university website first. I didn't really know much about it, but the thing that caught my eye was from another university, which had a similar sort of society as what we're going to do in cosmetics, Southampton. And I was always sort of interested in seeing if there was any sort of society like that here. So that's how we kind of, me and Shaz were just talking about it one day, and it just sort of happened. We just started discussing it. But in terms of like me being secluded from the rest of the sort of university students, I don't think that's entirely true. It's just that because you spend so much time with other medics, you just tend to sort of gravitate towards that. Like, there's nothing stopping you from mixing with the other students, especially if you're living in accommodation. Mostly, it's not sort of guaranteed you're going to be living with other medics. So my first day's accommodation, it was all mixed. Got to meet a lot of like other students from other courses. So nothing stops you from that. It's just a bit harder. You have to try a bit harder.
It's more convenient to basically like form groups within yourselves, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with living arrangements as well. Most people go for an all-medic house, and purely because it's easier in terms of academia. You wake up at the same time. If you've got a project together, you're working at home. It's easier like that. But no one, I don't think anyone wants to seclude themselves. I don't think anyone goes out of their way to do it or anything like that. Of course, there's nothing malicious like that.
No, of course, yeah.
And everyone wants to get involved with everyone. But I think it's just an easy thing. Like, it's just easier for everyone if you live with medics or you just surround yourself with medics. Especially because you spend so much time together as well. It's like in the hospital. As Shaz was saying earlier, 3 days in the hospital, 2 days on campus. So you spend your majority of your week in the hospital. So yeah.
Yeah, one thing to add here from my own experience, I think one of the main reasons I ended up feeling like I was just gravitating more towards the medics groups of my year was the academic aspect of it, actually.
I was going to get onto that, yeah, because you guys have obviously different academic needs, but also in terms of like applications for jobs and stuff in the future, it's completely different to how like another person would, go for a graduate scheme or go and do a postgraduate degree or something like that. You guys have all this residency, and I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
And you have these exams at the end, OSCEs and all that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a common theme actually within the medical friendship groups. It's a common theme to base that around medicine and the course and the academic aspects. It's just minor things like, while you're just sitting down or even going to Pepe's or something, but you're discussing something about medicine and it's keeping your mind there. Whereas if you detach yourself from it, I found it personally very difficult to go back home and motivate my own self independently and, start that from scratch and work on my own. That was one of the experiences that I think affected me and made me sort of exclude myself. It wasn't anything like brother said, it's nothing, never malicious, but it's just, you just notice that, oh, I'm benefiting more academically there, more spiritually and personally there, socially there. So what do I do?
Yeah. It's quite a difficult choice to make for a lot of people, I suppose.
Yeah, there's also a lot of like opportunities for you to network, especially. I mean, because if you start forming little groups, one of the brothers already tried it with brother Osama. He's already, sort of made this group of Muslim medical students where we can all share resources and stuff. So that helps you a lot, especially if you know what to expect in the coming years, and then actually using other people's notes, saving you the hard work. It's not just no, because I mean, you don't have to copy them, but sharing the resources actually helps a lot. I personally found that because when you try making your own notes, you'd spend about 3-4 weeks
Making the notes.
just making notes,
Yeah.
yeah, and then you don't have enough time to actually sort of revise from them. And then you can use other people's notes and adapt them to yourself and how you learn. So it's not the exact same thing, but not just in terms of university, also when you graduate and become doctors. Like we've had a couple of sort of foundation doctors coming through, and then giving us advices and throughout medical school as well. But also when we get to foundation year, the training, like what to expect, any advice, also so keep in touch after graduation, and that's sort of your professional network there.
I think it's interesting to know actually why this is a specific and unique issue to Muslims as well. Because, for example, there's no like Muslim chemistry network for students studying chemistry or physics or maths. Like, why is it that with medicine there's just so many Muslims on the course to the point where you almost have enough people to form your own society? Like, it's an interesting question.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm sure you guys have had it before when when you're meeting people for the first time, for example, at the start, yeah, or they're like, "What's the course you studied?" Like medicine. I'm like, "Oh man, everyone studies medicine here,"
Yeah.
and they're just like, "Oh, yeah."
I think at Southampton especially because there's BM6 here as well. So obviously the medical school is one of the biggest to begin with, and there's BM6.
Yeah.
So it's a combined.
Yeah.
It's just like two of those combined.
And I wonder how other people think though as well within the ISOC in terms like non-medics. So Taj, like, how did you feel when you came into uni and everyone
Yeah.
around you, with the ISOC is all medics? How did you? Yeah,
You know
how
what the
did you
thing
feel?
is, in my first year, right, a lot of the characters that were like on the ISOC and a lot of the more kind of outward going, extroverted characters weren't medics. Like there was a lot of in my year, 2016, right, when I started, it was a lot of engineers. Like everyone was an engineer, and even on my own course, there was a few brothers. But as I progressed, right, in my second year is when all the medics came. All the medics that were really involved in ISOC, that's when they all started. And then from there onwards, like each year, there's just more and more medics. But in my experience, like when I first joined ISOC, it wasn't like bare medics. It was engineers. It was a mixture of things. There were some medics, but as I throughout my degrees, when like I kind of started to get in friendship groups with more medics and stuff. Because also I was getting older as well, so some of the older brothers who were medics, who were in like fourth and fifth year, I was starting to get friendly with as well, which I wasn't immediately friendly with to begin with.
I see. But for me, I'm sure Masan and Shazza, if you guys agree, when you meet someone that's not a medic, it's like a breath of fresh air. You're like, oh man, like what do you do?
I'll say the same thing for me now.
It's like,
No,
it's
sometimes
like
I'm gonna
finally
be
you can
honest.
forget about work. You're not gonna talk about what
Yeah.
did you do now? Like it's
No.
something completely. Yeah.
Sometimes you're so suffocated with everything's going on. Like Shaz, how many times have I run into you in the hospital? So many times. Like, I mean, in terms of I feel sometimes suffocated with all the medics around me. So
Bro, I
it's
feel the
good
same thing,
sometimes.
man. Even me, yeah. I'm in like a lot of different groups, and I feel suffocated around medics sometimes. You guys are always talking about like human physiology 1 and all these courses that you're doing. Like somehow, yeah, if there's one medic in the room, somehow the conversation will always turn into something about medicine. That's what I've noticed. Because you guys are just always about it, man. Like it's just always in your mind.
I remember
Like you
the
mentioned.
first day I came in on the Freshers Week. I told someone I do medicine. They're like, oh, I do like something different, like I don't know, engineering. Oh, they were like, oh, BM4, BM5, BM6. So the reason they
Yeah,
knew
man.
the whole stuff. It's so mad. So that's how I knew. Like too many medics. Too many medics. Yeah.
No,
That's how I
alhamdulillah, man.
knew.
It's a good thing, man. Inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. It's been good so far. Like I've really enjoyed this year. And with COVID and stuff, I feel like academically, like it's worked. Obviously, of course, in my favor with the online exam and everything. As medics, we've passed all anyway. Like we've had mock exams instead of real exams, formative exams.
Yeah.
So it's definitely worked in that sense. And I was sad in terms of Ramadan, like not being able to spend Ramadan, with the
That was the
with the
biggest.
guys.
That was the biggest. What's the word? Like that's the biggest thing that got taken away. Like, because the thing is with the first years, right? We always throughout the entire year, right? We always read about Ramadan, and these guys like, how can you enjoy yourself at Ramadan away from your family, right? And we never got to show them like this is how, this is why. It's such a shame, man. Subhanallah. Inshallah next year, but I guess you guys will hear another year of just raving out Ramadan, because we're looking forward to it now as well, because we obviously missed it being at home. Alhamdulillah, in any case, but yeah, man.
I wonder how the structure is going to be next year, though, in terms of like Freshers Week and all those events that you have. I wonder how that's going to probably online, right?
In terms of what the union said, they haven't said anything official regarding freshers. We'll do what we can that's within obviously within the government guidelines, and obviously within common sense as well. But yeah, we'll have to see, inshallah, regarding freshers. And it'll be interesting to see how the new brothers and sisters fit in. Obviously, having online freshers, if there is online freshers, getting them to get involved without being like face to face. And I suppose that's another conversation for a different podcast, maybe in the future, inshallah. But actually,
Little teaser there. There you go. That's what we're doing.
so I think that's like as many questions I wanted to ask. Have you guys got any other topics that you think would be good to discuss quickly regarding like Muslim medics or studying as a Muslim medic away from home?
I think a few other things. I think Mohsin might have a few to add on as well. These things that we just discussed now about Southampton Muslim medics, being mainly around the needs of Muslim medics specifically. I think like there's many more that are just minute, but they all adding together can make a huge difference to a person's experience within uni. And especially with more and more, Taj, with your own experience, more and more Muslim medics are coming into uni. Like that's literally,
Yeah.
I would say, is the reason why there's more and more medics surrounding you, bro. But yeah, literally, and I think that trend would continue, hopefully, inshallah, if more and more
Inshallah,
Muslim students keep pulling their weight. And this is just stuff like you know how the medics culture, just the uni culture in general. How it's a different thing to what you're used to when you're back at home. You've got your madrasa friends, you've got your college friends. They're all similar to you, and then you come to uni, and then it's a mixture of different types and different backgrounds of people. And like obviously there's a culture difference, which doesn't necessarily suit Muslims as much. And because like you said, the groups in general, they form like medics with medics. The medics culture compared to, let's say, the general ISOC. So if you are surrounding yourself with the medics, you'll be mainly involved in the medics culture. So taking it as our responsibility to kind of like make this platform a voice for the people who might find that a difficult or a challenging thing to go through, especially if you're a new medic coming in, and not have those similar sort of challenges that I think I had. Is it always did feel like a tip off. It's either
one or the
this
other.
or that, or you keep yourself juggling between the two. You either benefit yourself academically and stay academic focused, or you try to switch to more like what you're comfortable with socially and also your own development. So inshallah, if we can create this platform, obviously for the sake of Allah and for the new kids who are going to be coming in, so they can have an overall better uni experience.
Inshallah, yeah. I think one point I'll add to that is that the way that the ISOC's been directed as well is we're looking to focus more on tarbiyah and all the other stuff, lectures, dawah, all that stuff. So because we're taking a focus on that, it makes it easier to kind of, okay, now you've got two endpoints, one end of the bridge and the other end of the bridge, where one is for medics specifically and obviously all the things you discussed before, but also the other side of the bridge, even though the socials and stuff and the charity stuff that the ISOC does is available, the end of the bridge is specifically the dawah and the talks, and that's the bridge we're trying to put together. Because obviously you guys can come to our socials and engage in charity, but the main thing is to get you guys, not you guys specifically, but the medics in general that wouldn't otherwise be in ISOC, get them involved in coming to the prayer room, making their salah, Jum'ah, and obviously Quran and all the other Islamic stuff. Which is this is the reason why I think we wanted to establish this whole Muslim medic thing.
Yeah. There's especially with, I think, medicine. There's a big. I'm sure Mohsin and Shazib, definitely Shazib, notes like in lectures when they have the big announcements about the next party that's going on or the next I don't know
what, in the docks.
Yeah. Taj, you know what? Oh man, there you go.
Not that I've been there. I've just seen it. I've just seen it on Facebook. That's it.
So yeah, I think it's easier for someone to feel left out, especially as a new medic, and maybe doesn't know much about ISOC, or someone who, there's a lot of misconceptions about ISOC and stuff like that. People don't want to join it sometimes, but again,
this is a topic. This is definitely a topic that's coming up in a few weeks. Inshallah. I've got a lot to say about that one.
Sometimes a bit anxious about joining ISOC anyway. So I think with the SMM, it's going to hopefully, inshallah, build a sort of bridge between getting people that wouldn't usually get involved into ISOC into the ISOC, getting the parent with all our socials, and hopefully increasing the da'wah.
Inshallah.
Well,
I think with that, we've been going on for 35 minutes, which is about as long as I wanted to get to. So, Jazakumullah khairan for coming. It's been very beneficial, inshallah, and hopefully those who are watching get some kind of benefit with the permission of Allah, inshallah. With that, I think we're going to end it there. Inshallah, next week we'll be discussing a different topic. So, Jazakumullah khairan, barakallahu feekum for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.